Welcome back, everybody, to the Less is More Sports podcast. We've been on a bit of a hiatus. We all got to take our summer vacations. But there's one of us who I don't even know how to describe this. It's been it's been a while since we've been on here, yeah. But some people just really, really have one topic that they won't let go. And for less, I gotta put my serious glasses on. That's Cooper Flagg. And let me tell you something, folks. We were going to have a special Flag Day episode. When it was Flag Day back in July or June, I got a text from Les saying we need to do an emergency pod because it's literally Flag Day. And then when we tell him no, he got mad, got really grumpy in the group chat. He's saying some vitriolic lies, spreading some slander because that's just how we roll. And the man starts getting on YouTube, and I swear that I've seen Twitter accounts dedicated to NBA players that are less devoted to LeBron James than Les Abbott is to Cooper Flagg. Every mini-sode of the Less is More Sports podcast has been about Cooper Flagg for weeks. It didn't matter. And of course, it picks the perfect month. We've got Flag Day. We've got the 4th of July, which, flags, Team FIBA, America. He refuses to acknowledge my comment on his post about the Great Langston Galloway, and he just keeps going about Cooper Flagg. La Chase down, La Chaser of La Chase down, the goat, the young goat. He hated. He said he should be on the Olympic team. I think Cooper Flagg has already won the NBA Finals because of Les Abbott's merciless media campaign. So, folks, I don't know what else to tell you. It's been a while, but our job really at Less is More Sports is to keep everybody from talking about Cooper Flagg for more than 2 weeks long. And so, what is the first thing I see after our triumphant return to the media? In the corner of my eye as I log on to our Zoom meeting we record on, Coop, there it is. All over again. I'm going to have, I wasn't a Duke hater before, but now I'm having some questions. This is a crisis of faith because I am just really, really tired of hearing about Cooper Flagg. You know, it's like I said in the group chat, the heart of a champion, maybe, but he's no Derek White.
Where do I begin with that, Matt?
The less is too stunned to speak.
I just want to say that if you're tired of the Cooper Flagg talk now, I must warn you that this is only the beginning. The legend has just now begun. That is Cooper Flagg, or as I've called him on TikTok and the YouTube shorts, the demon from Newport, Maine. And I gotta say though, in all honesty, I don't know what was harder, my 2 year sobriety or convincing Matt and Ryan to do a whole episode about Cooper Flagg. Both were very challenging. Actually, the sobriety part was not challenging at all, but that part about Cooper Flagg was
Cooper
challenging.
Flagg part.
The Cooper Flagg part was hard. And yes, Matt, I asked Matt. I knew Matt was gonna, or not ask. I knew Matt was gonna roast me, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm feeling a little burnt here, even more burnt than I currently am right now, as I spent last weekend down at Nolan Lake, and my dumbass did not put any sunscreen on,
Oh my
and
gosh.
my whole body is peeling. And I still think that the burn Matt just gave to me at the beginning of this podcast succeeds all of that the UV rays have done to my body. So well done, sir. That was very, very good.
Thank you. You're welcome. Anytime.
Is that why you're wearing a hat and sunglasses, is to avoid the UV rays?
No, I just want. If we're going to talk about video games, I had to get into the streamer mindset, man. So I put on my best costume, and now I'm ready to go. I feel, and I kind of look like Macho Man Randy Savage, which wasn't what I was going for. But sometimes you just got to snap into a Slim Jim called life.
You know what I was expecting you to do? Like
Okay, I
show
got.
up on the pod with like a bag full of grass and tell me to touch grass.
No, we'll save that for the season because you're going to need it then. Like when they
Probably.
blow out I don't know who they're playing. Let's just pick. If they blow out like Bucknell by like 70 points, that's when we're going to need the grass. The grass is like a smelling salt. You can't overuse the grass.
I know a lot of lifters that would disagree with that statement.
Well, and I do have 420 in my name, so I'm being very hypocritical today. Yes,
I would say there's just a lot, very, very grass themed show right now, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
we the great Savannah of the Less is More Sports podcast.
But, anyways, to get into what we're talking about today, we have a couple things that we want to discuss. And yes, if you haven't picked up on the clues me and Matt have given you so far, we are going to talk about the official college football 25 ratings because, it's almost here. We almost get that beloved video game that we've been waiting for over a decade. And we've been leaked the ratings of some of the top players in the game, and we're going to talk about it. But first, because we're not going to get into that yet, the first topic, because we are a college offseason podcast, and it's been a couple weeks since we've been on a show, a lot has happened. It's been a big week, especially in college football recruiting. But there are 3 teams that are on an absolute heater right now in the recruiting cycle, and that's Oregon, Alabama, and Missouri. So the first official question of the Less is More Sports podcast to Matt, of those 3 teams, which team is on the best heater right now?
It's easy to pick the 2 teams that are supposed to be good. I mean, I don't care if Nick Saban's there or not. Alabama's still Alabama. They're Alabama. Oregon is still Oregon. They're still a powerhouse. They've been good for a while. So, it's easy to pick those 2. But man, and, we're talking about it strictly from football, but I'm also going to throw in a little bit of the basketball. But Missouri, man, I'm really impressed with what Missouri's done. I mean, they had they finished second in the SEC East last year, which is pretty damn good. So it's like, how do you top that, Eli Drinkowitz? What are you going to do? You go out and you get a bunch of better recruits. Your basketball team's terrible last year. What do? You go out if you're Dennis Gates and you get Tony Perkins and you get a bunch of other really good recruits. The success of Missouri, I think, shows another feather in the cap of the NIL era to me. Because not only do you have 2 guys who are pretty magnetic personalities as coaches, which was your first good move, now that you've got those guys, now that you've got NIL, Missouri can do this because it's not like Indiana or Kentucky, really, where you've got like, oh, there's Indiana and there's Purdue. They both got big donors. They both got this. They both got that. There's Kentucky and there's Louisville. They've both got big donors. They both got yada yada. Missouri is the show in the state of Missouri. People who went to Missouri probably are state senators, state congress. They all went to Missouri. So you've got a big pool, you've got a big pond. You might as well use it to go out and get some dudes. This is an example of a team taking advantage of having, especially in the football program, of having a once in a lifetime opportunity with a good coach and a pretty good roster that's exceeded expectations. Even though their defense may have some holes, but we'll talk about that later on. They're working on building something pretty good out there. They see that, yeah, there's a Georgia, yeah, there's this, there's that. But they see that they're in the top 2 conferences in college sports. And when you've got that, you've got to milk it for everything it's worth. So I honestly think now, after seeing what Missouri's been able to do, they're a dark horse, man. I think that we could be potentially looking at 5 SEC teams in our first college football 12-team bracket because they have the easiest schedule in the SEC next year, and they've already exceeded expectations once. They've still got a good coach. Now they're bringing in some recruits who you're going to expound upon who are pretty good. I would not be surprised if Missouri sneaks in there along with Ole Miss, possibly Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and Texas into the college football playoff. I think we're looking now at the potential to have 5 SEC schools in the college football playoffs because of Eli Drinkowitz and what he's done at Missouri and the way they're utilizing their NIL as the show in the state of Missouri to go out and get better talent. It's a perfect storm. They're taking advantage of it. That's why they're the big story to me when you were considering being on a heater.
And anytime you can steal, or not really steal, but you can win a recruiting battle over Texas for alignment of all positions, I mean, you're doing something right. So major props to Eli Drinkwitz in that regard. And I think this is the most me and Matt takes of all time, because Matt, of course, is going to address the dark horse in the room, but I'm going to get on here and address the Titan in the room, because I hate to do this, especially after Decorian Moore, the number one rated player in the state of Texas and the top wide receiver in the country, chose Oregon over my horns. But even though I push the narrative or push that non-biased word to the extreme each episode, I am, or at least I try to be, a realist every show. Phil Knight. You know what the kids say, Matt? Drop the bag. Phil Knight did not drop a bag. He opened a bank, opened a large account. And
Yeah,
what's that Lil Wayne lyric? Bunch of zeros like a new bag of Funyuns. Oregon now has unlimited NIL money. And Decorian Moore is just the beginning. They are now public enemy number one in college football recruiting. Phil Knight, he's getting up there in age. Proud Oregon alum. He is going all in building a championship roster that he wants to see before he kicks the bucket. So Missouri is the dark horse, but Oregon is the real threat here. That is the Titan. That is the Thanos. That is the Galactus in the room right now. If other teams, Texas, you got the Lamborghini money, you got all kinds of NIL money you got to work with. You got to start opening banks and throwing that bag out there. Bama, I know you got some too. I know you got a lot of donors that I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, baby. Blitz, Bama, blitz. You better get involved on that, because if you don't, Oregon is going to take all of your recruits.
all of them.
Literally all of them. I think, does that wrap what we have to say about the recruiting heater? Is it time to officially
Anytime you get a dude who's like, you have like a lifetime NIL bank with me, that's probably going to continue after he passes away, And it just happens to be the thing that's got Jordan Brand, that a lot of major athletes wear it. It's got allegedly the coolest uniforms and all that stuff. You're already in a good spot. You're just making it even better now. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what Oregon does. But the thing about Oregon that we always hear year after year after year is 9 uniform combinations, 0 championships. I think the biggest thing they're going to have to do is change that 0 to a 1. One, there's my finger. And if that happens, then we're in really big business here. But, you know, we have narratives. That's one of the reasons we started doing this podcast. And they got to break that 0 and they got to put themselves in the digits. And then that Phil Knight money is going to be even bigger than before.
And to push your point even more, not only do they have to win a championship, but they need to get more players drafted, because that's the two biggest things that you do on the field that appeals to recruiters. Do you win? Yep. And do you put players in the NFL? It's the same across the entire sports landscape. A lot of teams win. A lot of teams put players at the next level, but there's not a lot that do both.
Nope.
Georgia, when they won their back-to-back national championships, and then they had 15 players apiece drafted in the NFL each of the next 2 years, that's when I said, yes, they're going to be the Bama of this decade. Oregon, like Matt said, you got to get on the digits board. You got to get on the digits in the championships, and you got to raise them digits and getting players drafted, because that Phil Knight money is going to be unlimited. It's like that Terrence Shannon tattoo on his arm. I don't know if you've been seeing that on social media, where he's got the tattoo of the unlimited ammo from GTA.
Yep.
Well, Phil Knight's going to get that unlimited money tattoo on his arm if he wants to build Oregon to the contender he wants before he kicks the bucket.
And I think he can.
Yeah,
this is the year.
Too. I think that officially wraps up the 3 schools that are on the biggest recruiting heater right now. And it's time to get into the main portion of the podcast that I'm sure all of you all are tuning in to hear. College Football 25 is almost here, and we got a leaked look at some of the top-rated players of the game. And as you would expect, Matt is going to talk about some of the mid-major players that are getting a lot of love on this game. And I'm going to talk about a lot of the big players that are getting a lot of love on this game, or not enough love, depending on how you want to look at that. So, Matt, without further ado, who is the first player you want to talk about in the player rankings?
Yeah, the thing I was really excited about to see breaking it down from like a player standpoint and positional standpoint was I was really excited to see Torrey Horton from Colorado State, 45th overall, and one of the I think the sixth receiver overall in a
Before
pretty
you
stacked.
continue, when I first saw that name, I thought I read Torrey Holt for a second. I'm not even gonna lie.
He's back and better than ever.
Right.
But now I was very excited to see Torrey Holt Horton on that list. Now I'm thinking of Torrey Holt.
I was gonna say I just should have waited till after you said that because I completely messed you
Coincidentally,
up when I
Isaac
saw it.
Bruce is also on this list. Oh, I'm kidding. He's not. But yeah, I was very excited to see him come in at number 45. If you don't know anything about Colorado State, other than the fact they almost beat Colorado in one of the craziest games of the year last year, you might want to start locking in now because this Torrey Horton, he's going to be really good. And I was going to talk about that more when we got to our cap or no cap. But, might as well give everyone a preview. By the time the NFL draft rolls around in a year and a half or so, if you see this guy on your team's draft board, you've had a good draft. I think he's probably the most underrated receiver, and I think that's mostly because he's at Colorado State. He could transfer, I don't know, but that makes me very happy to see him like get his props as the sixth overall receiver. And I mean, compared to some of the other guys he's up there with, Luther Burden from Missouri, he's a big reason why I had that very I don't want to call it a bold take, but I had that take about Missouri being a dark horse because he's absolutely insane. And, he's just behind Emeka Ibuka and Tez Johnson, two guys who I know people are incredibly high on. So that shows you just how good he is. And he's actually ahead of Evan Stewart from Oregon, another guy who I've seen mentioned a lot in early draft boards. So, I mean, I'm just excited for Torrey Horton. I think he's going to be exceptional this season and exceptional at the next level. So, yeah, that makes me happy. So that's my first one. I'm very happy for Torrey Horton, who's not Torrey Holt from NC State or the mighty Rams, the greatest show on turf. But now for Les's take on his first take on who is under, overrated, or just right. Les, who do you have as your first player we want to talk about on the big board?
I just want to first apologize because I think I messed that entire segment up for you just by throwing in the Torrey Holt thing because there was a constant battle of calling this kid Torrey Holt or Horton. And speaking of battles, I think this is going to transition perfectly to my first player because as you addressed a Colorado State player, and as we've probably seen before we got on this show, the Colorado State head coach cannot keep Deion Sanders' name out of his mouth, or the Sanders name out of his mouth, rather. And I'm going to talk about the quarterback that Jay Norvell was shading with my first player that I'm addressing in Shedeur Sanders. As a lot of you all know, he's the highest rated quarterback in the game. And I know he gets a lot of hate because of who his dad is. And let's be honest, he's kind of cocky himself. But I'm going to be honest, he deserves to be the highest ranked quarterback in this game. And I don't think people really understand how good he actually is. Yeah, I hear 4-8 all the time, but when he had one of the worst offensive lines protecting him last year, and he had one of the worst defenses in not just the Pac-12, but the country as well, yet he still led the Pac-12 in completion percentage, had one of the best touchdown interception ratios in the country. Yeah, 4-8 is not a good record, but when you are running for your life every play and you have a defense that can't stop a middle school team, a phrase that I often use on this podcast all the time, the sad reality is you're not going to win games. It doesn't matter how good you are. The truth is Shedeur Sanders is the truth. And given the season he had last year, with everything else into consideration, he should be the number one ranked quarterback in this game, the number one ranked quarterback in the country. I love Quinn Ewers. I love Riley Leonard. I think Carson Beck's a really good quarterback. But no, Shedeur Sanders, given what he did last year with what he had to work with, yeah, he deserves to be the top quarterback in this game.
Well, for my number two, I'm once again sticking with a dude who you haven't heard of yet, but you probably will once that combine season rolls around. The guy who came in at number 50, pleasantly surprised to see Jason Henderson, the linebacker from Old Dominion, everyone's beloved football powerhouse, the Old Dominion Monarchs. Love their uniforms. But very happy to see that guy listed on there too. I think this is another player. I mean, he's a bit short at six. Well, not short, but 6'1", 227. People sometimes have questions about the size, but this dude has been a first team All American at least once, so he definitely earned his flowers being in here. So I'm very happy to see him be mentioned too. I mean, I think he's one of the best linebackers in the country, but everyone gets overshadowed because you're at Old Dominion as opposed to being part of the great linebacking cores at Clemson and LSU. But outside of those guys, I think he's one of the best dudes you can get. So very excited to see the junior from Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania, come in at number 50 on these rankings of players at a 91 overall. Like I said, it shows that you gave a little bit of effort to the game. I know the dude's an All American, but it would have been easy just to put like another guy from Alabama or another dude from Ole Miss or another linebacker from an SEC or Big Ten school. But this shows that you're putting a little bit of care into the game just by putting in a dude from Old Dominion, who is, I think, going to be a pretty good prospect going forward to the NFL draft.
And I'm going to talk about running back with this next one. And I think
I think I
everybody who
know where you're
listens to the
going.
pod knows where I'm going to go with this one because I am the
Ooh,
OG Ollie Gordon hater. So many OG moments here. Um, but he's the number one ranked running back in this game. And I've said about all I could say about why I don't think he's the best. I also think it's crazy because even though I'm supposed to be talking about the big schools here, I am going to also note that it's not a less is more sports podcast without shouting out Boise State. And the fact that there are
no.
7 running backs ranked above Ashton Genty is absolutely wild. And I know Ryan wasn't able to make this show today, but in honor of Ryan's absence, I'm going to say that his Buckeyes have 2 running backs on their team that are better than Ollie Gordon. So again, with
Ooh.
any time we talk about ratings and I talk about running backs, I'm going to throw some kind of shade at Ollie Gordon. And this is where it's at right now because, again, he is not the best running back in college football. And if he is, maybe Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy should have gone a little higher in that NFL draft. That's all I got to say. They locked that dude up.
I'm just waiting for like you to get a knock on your door one day and Ollie Gordon's on the other side, like, hello. And you're like, uh-oh. Maybe he's using this as bulletin board material. I don't know. Maybe.
If the podcast ever makes it big, Ollie Gordon is going to like get a picture of my face and throw darts at it every day.
He's gonna be our first guest if we ever hit the big time.
He's
Ladies and
going to,
gentlemen,
yeah.
we've made fun of him in the past, but now he's here. Ollie Gordon.
It's going to
Let's
be like that episode of Colin Cowherd's The Herd where he brings Baker Mayfield on.
Oh yeah. Or the Jim Rome with Jim Everett incident. Someone's
He's
getting
going to
slapped.
make a hoodie of like all the things I've said about him on the show. Or he's gonna make a F Texas hoodie just to like troll me on the show.
That would actually be kind of funny.
That
But
would I ain't gonna lie, that would be actually creative. I would
for
respect
my
it.
for my last or penultimate take, I'm just gonna say, like, if you've been paying attention to the early college football playoff, I'm just thinking about that hoodie. If you look closely at the early college football playoff projections, you may notice that for the group of 5 squad, the team that comes up the most is Liberty. And the reason why is because Caden Slater comes in at number 90 overall, one of the top quarterbacks, and Quentin Cooley, the running back, comes in at number 100. Now, thoughts about the institution of Liberty University aside, they do have a very explosive offense and a very good football team. And I think that's just another way of saying alerting the fans to the fact that, hey, if you're the 5 seed, this is probably who you're going to end up playing, and you shouldn't sleep on them because they've got a pretty damn good roster. Like I said, feelings about the institution aside, I'm very happy to see Caden Slater and Quentin Cooley from Liberty get some mentions on there because, like I said, that offense is not only explosive, there's a reason why they're constantly listed as that 12 group of 5 team undefeated squad that sneaks in at the 12. in the playoffs. And man, let me tell you something. I will be very excited if we get an Ole Miss Liberty first round game because that's going to be a lot of points and a lot of fun. So, very happy to see the dynamic duo from Liberty University make it into the bottom part of the top 100, but they deserve to be there in general. And there are no IU players in the top 100, which will shock everyone.
It shocked me, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I can't believe they didn't put anybody in there.
I mean, that's not off. They're not off to a good start if they want to make the Big Ten championship next year, like the new coach said at Big Ten Media Day
I did
or
see that. I
at the
mean,
Big Ten championship. Yeah,
you have to like the confidence because you never know what's going to happen.
I respect it. No, I think it's a savage moment. I respect it for him, and it hyped the IU faithful up. I'm good with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, never daunted is like a thing now. I never thought I would say that. IU football has like a hashtag and an annoying catchphrase,
IU
which
football has swagger.
yeah, I guess you could call it that. Yeah, I'm not used to this because even when even before when it was good, it was like there were videos of the team snapping and doing jazz hands before games, and now it's just like bro is daunted, and I'm like, we're talking about Indiana football, right? Right?
IU
Bro is
football has
daunted.
aura. They have aura.
We have a
Would I
rock.
say? Could I say that? Hey, to fit in with the kids, could I say IU football has riz?
I guess you could say they have Riz. They've got that aura. They've got the swag.
They got it all. They got
They're
all the
gonna
energy
do
now.
they're gonna do that
Shout out to
walk into
Kurt
the end.
Sinjetti. Sinjetti, I mean. Sinjetti, tomato.
Coach Sig is what the cool kids are calling him, and he's got aura.
And he's gonna smoke you.
That I have seen that, and it's just like, but now that's daunted.
That
That's
is
a best
daunting.
to come up with. That's daunted. Like he could roll you up and smoke you. There comes the 420 again.
There we go. There it is. There's the
Damn it.
graphs.
This show is sponsored by weed. Les, do you have any other takes?
I have
Before
one
this
more. I have one
gets
more.
weirder?
I have one
All
more.
right, all right. Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
This show is sponsored by Mood Cannabis. No, we are not. Sorry. No, we are not.
We do not vape, but if you do, be sure to go to our sponsor. Oh,
Hey, Mood Cannabis, sponsor the show, please.
give us money so I can buy more hats.
Bean needs some new treats.
He's mad at the old treats. All right, Les, what's your final take?
My final is cornerback Will Johnson being the number one rated player, not just from the
Yeah, that's right.
DBs, yeah, but for the whole game. And don't be wrong, he's a good player. Well, hold on. He's
Ryan's not
good.
here. You can say it. It's a safe space.
Oh no, Ryan would love it if what I'm about to say. He looks
Oh, okay.
good when he's not lined up against Maserati Marv. But then
Well,
again, no, okay, who
it's not
does? Who does though? He was the best receiver. He's one of the best receiving prospects in I don't know how long. He's one of the best I've seen. I mean, he's Maserati Marv for a reason. And that is an all-time goated nickname given to him by Gus Johnson, who is an absolute national treasure, by the way. But no, Will Johnson, yeah, again, good player, best in the game, not even the best at his position. And what's even crazier about this, and I feel like I'm going to get a lot of Colorado Buffs fans on my side with this one because I'm shouting out Shador Sanders, and now I'm going to shout out the other superstar on the team. When you have a two-way superstar, best two-way superstar since probably Jabril Peppers and Travis Hunter, how is that not the best player in the game? He's playing both sides of the ball. What else
yeah,
do you want him to do? You want him to kick too?
he
I
could
mean,
probably. But yeah, I think you're onto something there. It's almost like they're punishing a guy for playing two positions.
right. I mean, and kind of like what they did with Jabril Peppers and the Heisman. I mean, the dude played like how many different positions that year?
We only love Charles Woodson less. Only Charles Woodson.
Did Charles Woodson even play receiver like Travis Hunter? I mean, at
Oh
Travis Hunter's
no.
level? No, exactly. No, Travis Hunter's that dude. Charles Woodson was a great player. Anybody who takes a Heisman Trophy away from Peyton Manning is a hell of a player.
And then
But,
back it up.
but I mean, Travis, again, he's elite on both sides of the ball. Like the only time he looked bad is probably when he was fatigued or injured. I mean, and can you blame him? He's playing both sides of the ball. What, like I said, you want him to kick too? I mean, this dude should be 100 out of a 99 if we're being completely honest. And the fact that not only Will Johnson was rated above him, but as far as DBs go, Caleb Downs was. Caleb Downs, I'm a big recruiting guy. Caleb Downs is a hell of a prospect with a ton of potential. But his immaturity showed last year in that Texas game. I say immaturity. I want to be clear about this. I'm not talking from a personal standpoint. I'm talking about game maturity, or football IQ standpoint. Because how many times did Quinn Ewers catch him cheating up, and then he hits him in a post route for a touchdown? I mean, how many times how many times did Quinn beat him on that exact same play? I mean, yeah, Travis Hunter should be the best player in the game. Will Johnson, good player, even though Maserati Marv is your daddy. I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, that was the lone beef, or the last beef that I had with the list. And now we have about 4 minutes left before our timer runs out. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about Cooper Flagg, even though
No, you are not, because we are going to talk about. I just had a few odds and end observations because let me tell you something. Some of these things were just spot on. Like, for example, the highest rated player from Iowa is a linebacker.
Iowa.
Iowa
I
defense.
feel like a tight end would have been more appropriate though.
I would agree with that. It was either going to be a tight end or a linebacker, or Cooper DeJean the second. The other person who was a little bit low that surprised me is I thought Jack Sawyer would be a little bit higher, to be honest with you.
Well, kind of like what me and Ryan talked about on our breakout superstars for college football. Jack Sawyer has a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement about what he could be, but he hasn't put it together yet.
And that is true. And then I even thought Ewers was a bit low at like 27. But then
Yeah.
again, when you think about
Same
it,
logic though. Same logic, really.
and you think about it too, there's like a lot of. I keep thinking it's not the same. It's like you've got the positions, like all the positions. It's not like a Heisman Trophy thing where it's mostly quarterbacks. You've got to think about offensive linemen. You've got to think about cornerbacks, safety. And there are 11 dudes on a football field at all times, and only one of them's a quarterback. So somebody's got to be the best at something else while the quarterbacks, because there's only one quarterback. So I guess it does make sense because that caught me off guard. And then the more I thought about it, the more it's like, oh yeah, Harold Perkins is really good. The linebacking core at Clemson is pretty good. Carson Beck is probably slightly better or on par with Quinn Ewers because he gets the benefit of having good receivers. Luther Burden's what a good receiver.
I mean,
So then it was like,
Quinn's got some pretty good receivers. Let's not
he does,
cap.
he does, but he doesn't
Probably
have like
better than Georgia's low key. Not even low
Georgia.
key.
Georgia's just got the hype on their side, though.
Georgia's, I think, a more talented roster top to bottom. Maybe Texas pretty good.
Maybe.
I don't know.
All right,
I think Georgia is viewed as having one of the best rosters in football. I think that's maybe where that comes from. But I'm gonna throw. We have about a minute and a half left. Before I officially end the show and we go on our stereotypical rants to end the show, I do want to say that my hot take for the show is that I think James Pierce, the edge out of Tennessee, is overrated. Because every time I try to look up film on this dude, I see an absolute JC Latham highlight reel of just him driving this dude into the dirt. So that is my hot take to get Vols fans coming at my neck, is that James Pierce is overrated. But officially, with a minute to go, as always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. Be sure to follow our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. That's at Less is More Sports. Also, be sure to follow the TikTok channel. That's at BeansDad018. And what are we going to rant about until the show ends, Matt?
Well, Les, we've got 39 seconds, so I'm gonna reward you for being good. You've got 34 seconds to sell me on Cooper Flagg.
I need a lot more than I do. I even need that much? I mean, I followed this dude since.
Les, come on.
I mean, I followed this kid since the time he was a freshman at playing for Maine, and the dude's just an absolute winner. He's won at every level. He's dominated regardless of what age group he plays in, who his teammates are. And I mean, I think when we see what he did against the best that the NBA has to offer, this should be a no-brainer at this time. And if I had more time, I would talk about the dumbest tweet